So, I imagine you all have already heard about OceanGate and its submersible that's supposed to take you on a tour to see the Titanic and how it is lost. Absolutely nobody knows where it is. So on Sunday, around 8 a.m. Eastern Time, the sub started its descent to the Titanic wreck, which was supposed to take right around 2 hours. They lost contact at 1 hour and 45 minutes into its dive. Who's on the sub? Well, for starters, OceanGate, the company that owns the sub and runs the tours, the CEO, Stockton Rush. This guy is basically just totally arrogant. He's been warned numerous times that it's not safe. They fired an employee who also said it's not safe. Basically, he ignored everybody's warnings and still went on with the tour. Astronaut Hamish Harding, who also was on Jeff Bezos' rocket, then father and son Shahzada and Sulman Dawood. And shame on this father, by the way, for bringing his 19-year-old son on this very risky tour. It's said that they had to sign waivers where the word death was in it like 5 different times. Should not have been there. They should not have taken their son on this trip. He's one of the richest men in Pakistan, but nevertheless, very poor decision. And then this gentleman, former French Navy officer and Titanic expert, Paul, forgive me if I pronounce this right, Nargeolet. At this point, they have well under 20 hours worth of oxygen left. The Coast Guard's claiming that one of the sonars is picking up like banging sounds every half hour. I think it's a reach. I don't believe it's happening. There are a couple of options as to what happened. It imploded, it lost power, and to be honest, Megalodon. And let's not forget the shark that was pinging at a certain depth, then all of a sudden took a 2,000 feet dive in the blink of an eye. The temperature that was reading on the object that was attached to the shark all of a sudden jumped as well, as if it was in something's stomach, as if it got ate by something massive. This was a 10-foot shark, mind you. So I know it's not in the exact same area, but it's still along that same shelf, if you will. And let's not forget about the Indonesian sub. I know that's in a totally different part of the ocean, but that doesn't matter. These things are massive and they can travel long distances. Now, I don't necessarily believe that the Indonesian sub was taken out by a megalodon, but whatever did it, ripped it in 3 pieces and literally plucked every person on board that sub off of it. There were no bodies found. Now that, to me, is obvious. It is some sort of sea creature down there that we have no idea what it is or that it exists. We want to think it doesn't, but we have no idea what's in them oceans, y'all. They are vastly undiscovered. There are things down there we can't even fathom at this point. We know more about space than we know about the ocean. And I truly believe that these things, since they do seem to have, according to the incident with the 10-foot shark, higher body temperatures, to me, that means they are going to dwell in waters that are cooler, that are colder, just like the Titanic. So I'll truly be surprised if they find anything pertaining to this submersible. I believe that the chances of finding them are very, very small. Also, I do have some questions. Here we have what looks to be satellite imagery of the Titanic on the bottom of the ocean floor. If this is in fact the case, then what's stopping us from using satellite imagery in order to pick up this submersible? If it's capable of doing this, then why isn't it capable of taking more pictures and figuring out where the sub is on the ocean floor? It doesn't make any sense to me. They're also saying that it supposedly has 7 fail-safes that it can use to surface, but that's only if they have power. If they lost power, they're basically sitting ducks. As far as any sort of rescue mission goes, though, the rescue mission is pretty much hopeless. Also, a year ago now, a Navy officer that was on a submarine that traveled the entirety of the ocean contacted me. And he said there's a machine that they have that can literally travel on the ocean floor. And I believe it's leaving these tracks on Google Earth. And they're all over the ocean. If that's the case, then why can't we possibly use this machine to go check it out and see where the submersible is? they'd never do that, probably because they don't want to disclose it. There's also conspiracies that apparently the serial number is starting to show on the ship, which is going to prove that it's not actually the Titanic and that it was sank intentionally for insurance purposes. So they are stopping people from actually touring the ship. I don't know. I feel like that's a reach, but I do believe that it's actually taken out on purpose, and I don't believe that it is the Titanic, but I don't believe that they're stopping people from touring the ship because of this. At the end of the day, the situation is futile. In my opinion, they already know what happened to it. And I believe that is something down there straight up took it out. They're not going to find any wreckage. If they do, it's going to be parts and pieces. And I know nobody wants to hear that, but it is what it is. I believe that's the case. I believe something attacked them at depth and took them out. Another option, though, is they were actually touring the Titanic and got snagged on it or got stuck on it somewhere, and they can't break loose from it. Either way, y'all, unfortunately and sadly, it doesn't look good. We'll see in the near future. That'll tell us what happens. I hope for the best. I wish their families the best, and I'm sorry that they're in this situation. It should have never happened. The CEO of OceanGate should have never allowed this to happen or even allowed this trip to take place. Sounds like he was irresponsible and reckless in his decisions and in making the sub. I mean, they were using a Logitech remote control that looked like a PS5 controller to steer the ship. I mean, come on. Wild story. I would hate to be on that sub. I couldn't imagine how terrifying it is. I couldn't imagine actually being on it and slowly running out of oxygen. It would be the worst way to go. So prayers be with them. So that's the scoop. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Stay in the love, stay in the light, be kind to others. I am out.